Alright, it's time for a new Path of Exile League very soon, next week. And as soon as I saw the Assassin rework, I might as well just show it to begin with. They have done this. So this is a critical poison focused ascendancy now. Well, it was previously like that, but pretty bad. And they changed one of the nodes that made poison builds different but more fun. And that's the infused toxins in the top here. That's the second lab, so you won't be able to do the build from just straight up, but you will as soon as you hit the second lab. First node, you'll get toxic delivery, which says that poison you inflict with critical strikes deals 20% more damage and more poison duration for each poison you've inflicted recently, up to 100%. We will be doing that quite a bit with Molten Strike. And Infused Toxin says that all damage from hit can poison. That means that you are no longer forced to use chaos or physical damage to deal the poison. You can now also use elemental damage, such as lightning, cold, and fire. Data nodes are serviceable. But what I'm looking at the most is currently Shadow Blood, just for the unaffected by damaging ailments. Which means that we can use a jewel later on, I will get to that, to self-poison ourselves and thus gaining chaos resistance. And also Mistwalker, because I kind of want some kind of elusive effect. They also reveal the bloodline ascendancies that you get from killing bosses. And since they only revealed 3 of them so far, there might be some shenanigans you can do with these in case you don't care about Shadow Blood or Mistwalker. So you have potentially 2 to 4 ascendancy points you can change into those bloodline ascendancies. I think they're called bloodlines at least. Anyhow. So I just scrambled up a PoE real quick. Like really quick. This has like no thought into it. It's just how can I make a poison build work. So perfect agony states that damage over time multiplier for ailments is equal to the critical damage multiplier, which means we don't really need to stack damage over time multiplier. We can instead stack critical strike multiplier. But our critical strikes do not deal extra damage, and non-critical strikes cannot inflict ailments. So that states that we need 100% to critical strike chance to actually do anything. To do that, we can use the different poison nodes on the tree. Poison. So we have a chance to poison with hits here. We have another 10% here. Another 10%, another 10%, another 15%, yada yada yada. You get the point. Because poison is an ailment, and elemental ailments are guaranteed on melee hits, which critical strikes, but that doesn't apply to bleed or poison for some reason. So we need we need poison chance on the tree for this to work, preferably 100%. What else is there? Oh yeah, just that crit chance on the tree in general. So you have some crit chance, crit multi here, you have the crit wheel here, you have accuracy rating here, you have, where's the other crit? Oh yeah, this wheel. You have some chance to bleed because you still have this tiny bit of physical damage from the claws that we're using. And that's also grants us critical strike multiplier and massive critical strike chance against bleeding enemies. And since we'll be hitting enemies very frequently, that will, of course, make the enemies bleed, thus increasing the critical strike chance. Molten Strike. Why are we using Molten Strike? Molten Strike is a strike attack, which states that when you hit an enemy, it will shoot out 4 additional projectiles. In this case, with the 3, it will make it 5. And with it greater multiple projectiles, that's another 4. That'll make it 9 projectiles. Then on top of that, we can also use returning projectiles, which sets this to practically 18 projectiles. Although return projectiles has some less damage when hits an ailment while returning. Eventually, you should be able to replace returning projectiles once you get yourself a Nimbus. This is a very late game, of course. So, all of our 9 balls would double hit. Another important unique to this build is the Angel's Harmony. Since we don't care about our hit dealing damage, we care about the ailment, and since to inflict an ailment we need to crit. So Angel's Harmony states that we get another 360% critical strike chance with the critical quality on it. But our critical strikes do not deal extra damage. Where have we seen this before? Oh wait, here, perfect agony. So it's the same stat. And fun fact, the critical strikes do not deal extra damage, only applies to the hit, not the poison, not the ailments. So those are only 2 uniques that you really want for this build to actually work. Later on, you kind of want Glorious Vanity somewhere in this circle, preferably just up 1 point, and you can easily find this in the PoE. You don't have to use the exact one that I'm using. There are multiple of them. I will show you how to, well, pick it out very soon. But preferably you kind of want nodes around here, so you can steal it with another unique jewel later on, preferably. So yeah, I'll show it later. I know. Oh yeah. Also, since all of our damage is now affecting poison, elemental damage also helps out. Does this wheel? You see, it jumps down by quite a bit. Well, it jumps up quite a bit if I have it. What I was going to say about this build? Oh yeah, another thing, since this ascendancy is now a thing, that also means that we can now use claws. Well, we can use any weapon, to be honest. Preferably claws. You could technically use a Rebuke of the Val, which has ridiculous amounts of flat damage early on, both physical, cold, fire, lightning. That's an option. But I want Imperial Claw, specifically for the life per enemy hit. Since we're hitting the enemies with 18 balls plus a physical, well, a melee hit, that's 19 hits per attack, which will just shit out life on hit. So that's a great source of recovery. We are, of course, immune to damaging ailments such as ignite, poison, and bleed. And we aren't really ailment immune yet in this version of the build. Preferably you want to change out the golden rule for what's it called? Storm Shroud later on. So you could replace some of these damage nodes with a cluster here later on. As I said, this is just thrown together in a couple of minutes. And the damage numbers are looking kinda okay for this version of the build. Welding Blades vulnerability, Steel Skin for survivability. Now, I don't know if this setup is correct, because the funny thing is here, Molten Strike balls, this version that I have set to 18 balls. I don't know if magma balls, if I should use the average ball hitting, because if I use the average ball hitting, the damage just skyrockets for some reason. I don't know which one is correct, so I'm just gonna keep it at magma balls as it is. What else can we change? Well, belt. I'll preferably just use a Stitch and Vice early on. Eventually, Tides of Time, Mage Blood, of course. Who wouldn't use Mage Blood? But we're keeping it kind of budgety at the moment. Light to Meaning, preferably with chaos damage. I think that should be fine since we're using a lot of nodes in this zone, thus granting us pretty big chaos damage. It's almost 3 million DPS straight from this one here. Light to Meaning won't be easy to get early on, but once people are starting doing bossing, then this will get fairly common. Glorious Vanity. Again, inflict withered for 2 seconds on hit, since we're hitting the enemies for 18 balls plus a melee strike at 5 times a second. That's a lot of hits. Thus, we'll be withered stacked fully in the split second. So how do I use PoE to find this node? Well, find time as usual here at the bottom. We use Glorious Vanity. Use whatever you want here. It doesn't really matter what you pick. Divine Flesh eventually later on if you want to use that once you have sorted out your resistances, preferably, and then, well, grab it here. That will make you slightly tanky against penetration mods in maps. We just search for Wither here, which are shadows. We filter nodes based on those that we want. And you just click search. This way we find a lot of jewels with this exact mod right here. So we can just copy trade URL and then you just paste it in your web browser and suddenly, look at that. This is mercenary leagues. So 60 divines. Line only, if you take any, suddenly it's 130. Easy to find. Well, if you can't find any with that number, well, then you just go down, click here, copy next URL, and we paste that in. Ta-da! Any. Perfect, another 130. Perfect. Just keep it going like that until you find one. Now, if we were using... what's that called again? Ghost Dance. Ghost Dance. The Impossible Escape, eventually. Ghost Dance. Let's just say we have it. Instead of Golden Rule. That means that we can allocate nodes in, well, around this node, which means we can allocate this, this, and this as well, and this. So now we can also do even more fun stuff, so find timeless jewels. So we have this Wither, which is actually fairly good. It's chaos damage and Wither, so fine. What else can we want? Well, we kind of want chaos damage leech, doesn't really help, but Wither helps. Maximum chaos resistance as chaos rest could be good if we do in Divine Flesh. It's a good idea. We have... What else can we have here? Is there like any attack? Well, minor nodes of attack speed could be good. Life when you block. Well, you can look through this list for mods that you could actually use. And let's just say that we want blind enemies on it. Perfect. Let's say that. So suddenly we have at the very top 3 nodes with chaos damage and Wither, and 1 with blind enemies on hit. We want that one, so copy trade URL again, just as an example. And then we look at the numbers again. So it says 2443. Then of course you have to find it, because it copies multiple of them. Or you could just remove all those. Ta-da, 6 of them. So if we were to add this to the build, Suddenly we have chance to blind enemies on hit, chaos damage, some life, regen, chaos damage. That's pretty big, not gonna lie. So that's how you find timeless jewels on the trade site. Using puffer building. But just use whatever you can get to just one node with the on hit. So I'm just gonna set this back to normal, so it's not confusing. I think that's all I want to say. The sound might be kind of fucked because this is a new PC. I haven't sorted out the sound yet. Yada yada yada. Hope you found this very quick setup build fun. This is what I'm gonna league start with. Until you will be able, well, once you have completed the second lab, you can start running this probably. Preferably maybe without perfect agony until you have 100% crit chance. But once you have 100% crit chance, you definitely want perfect agony. What else? Is there like anything else I would like to say? Probably not. I'm just rambling at this point. Have a nice evening, and oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say. This video is very rambling because my mind is all over the place because I'm not following any script or anything. How do you level this until the second lab? Play whatever you want. Just toxic rain, whatever melee builds, tricksters are doing. I don't care. Do whatever you want. Probably just toxic rain. To be honest, it's fairly good. All right, now bye.